明月对影成三人。All right, the pin. I think not even all, maybe not all Chinese people know this line, but 99 of the Han Chinese know this line. Can recite and remember in their mind. You can try with each single Chinese you're going to meet later, and ask them what's the next after 举杯邀明月. Okay. 举杯邀明月，对影成三人。What does that mean? 举 to hold, 杯 the cup of what? The cup of alcohol, obviously in this context. 邀 to invite, 明 the bright, 月 the moon. 对 against, 影 shadows, 成 become, 三 we all learned what sun is. Sun means, come on, three. 三人 means
three people.
Yes, three people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So what this line means, I hold, a cup of wine and invite the moon to join us. With the moon and my shadow together, we are three people. So you will never drinking alone, okay? Because you have that shadow and you have that moon. 举杯邀明月，对影成三人. Can you all hear correctly? Is my sound clear to all of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Miss No, I think you probably need to log out and log in back. I'll try to restart. Right. Let's try to read the new word together from yesterday. And while we're reading them, please try to think how they are written and what the meaning. All right. Repeat after me. 请问叫什么名字姓认识很高兴也 Well, as you already noticed, there are certain Chinese character has the same pinyin. So just bear this in mind. It's not one pinyin, one character situation. We have quite a few homophones with not only same pinyin, but same tones as well. And your question may be, 老师, then how do I know which one they are using to talk to me? Well, based on the context. Okay? You won't get misunderstood between the surname and happy, are you? Let's continue to read the dialogue. Yes, then you rely on the context, correct. 你好，请问你叫什么名字? Let's read this. Repeat after me. 你好，请问你叫什么名字? right? One thing you should avoid of is from years of my experience of teaching Chinese, I know it's hard to pronounce those in a rather quicker way, but try to do that from the very beginning, because the way you speak is the way you understand it. If you only speak Chinese in the slow-mo, 请问您好，你叫什么名字? Then it will become a problem when some people talk to you in a natural way. 请问你好，你叫什么名字? You wouldn't understand, or it would take times for you to understand, right? So from the very beginning, let's try not to get used to it in a slow way, just as Chinese. 我叫林娜。你呢? No matter where you are, say that out loud. It's a good excuse to wake whoever up you want to wake. I'm studying. What's the problem with you? 我叫山田佑，姓山田。认识你很高兴，认识你我也很高兴。Hope you remember what I mean, right? We're going to look at the text too. One thing I forgot to mention. Within our C178 on Sunlen, actually, under the textbook, there's another folder called grammar books, right? We're probably not going to refer to each of them. Just when we need it, we're probably going to look at one or two characters. I here have a different grammar book for different level of you. If you're going to take the general linguistic, I recommend you to read this, a Chinese linguistic introduction, right? If you think you want to understand the grammar from the Chinese point of view, you can look at the last one, 实用现代汉语语法, right? If you have completely no pre-knowledge about Chinese, I recommend you to read this Chinese grammar for foreigners, because it will explain Chinese grammar from the perspective of English. And if you want to find everything, you can read this, the comprehensive grammar book. All right. We continue. We learned how to find a name from a person who's about your age, right? But we certainly cannot come to, for example, to the rector of our university. Hey, what's your name? Right? That will be rude. Then we need to learn how can we find out the name from the person who's, maybe older than us. For example, in this situation, it is between a 老师 and a 学生, student, 学, just write it here. What are 学生? You are 学生. Second tone, 学 as a verb means to study. 生 in this context means a kind of person, right? Not graduated yet, a amateur, not a professional. Because 生 means 绕 in this context. So you're studying, you're a kind of student. 老师, 老 means old, right? In the traditional Chinese understanding, a teacher must be old because they are the masters. 师 means masters, literally. So the old master. If you ever watched any kind of Chinese kung fu movie, that is with the relationship between a Chinese master and a Chinese disciple. It is not like nowadays the relationship between I and you. In the traditional Chinese way, a disciple who will inherit not only the knowledge from the master, but the norm and the way that the master trying to pass to the generation. Basically, it's very close relationship between them. It's even tighter than father and son relationship. 老师 and 学生, this is the dialogue between them. So if a 学生 want to find out what's the name from the 老师, certainly the first thing you can think about, the 学生 will address 老师 not 你 but 您, right? Right, this is understandable. We learned 您 second singular, honorable, respectful form. 您. Li is another Chinese common surname. So Martin is that American guy asked. Li Yimin is the name of that 老师. The surname is Li. Name Yimin. In some situations, the Chinese name does not have a meaning. Well, in most of the situations, the parents will try to give a meaning in their surname, but in some situations, it won't. That's just as normal as all of you. 老师您贵姓? He didn't ask 老师你叫什么名字? He used another expression, 您贵姓. We understand the 您 because he respects him. 贵, however, means something weird. This means expensive. Expensive in the price, right? 姓, we know 姓 means surname. So, what's your expensive name? Right, that sounds weird. Let's look at the notes. 贵姓是问对方姓的礼貌表达方式. Is used to ask the person's surname in a polite way. For example, 你贵姓, 他贵姓. We put 贵 here. Does not mean what's your expensive name. It's because I'm trying to ask what is your honorable surname, right? I put you in a higher position than me. 回答时, be careful. They answer because we are trying to be humble. If someone asks you, what's your honorable surname? You can't say my honorable surname is. You will just say, my surname is. 我姓什么什么. The answer, you cannot say 我贵姓. Right? 对方问对方姓名还可以这样问，你姓什么? You surnamed what? Right? If we make a line on the respectful level, the first one will be ask 您贵姓. Second is this one, 你姓什么? Third one, to ask someone's name directly, 你叫什么名字? Those three are used in different situations with different people, right? I think this is understandable. The last one, if you can ask your classmate, 你叫什么名字? That's no offense. But you certainly cannot ask your teacher. Well, I don't care. But someone does. 你叫什么名字? Right? The most polite way is 您贵姓. Something sitting in the middle between those two is 你姓什么? Are we clear? Are you all awake, following me? Not leaving the Teams open there and go back to your bed. Okay. Okay, that's good. Now let's read this dialogue together. Repeat after me. 老师，您贵姓？我姓李。李老师，您好。你好，你叫什么名字？我叫马丁。Okay, let's look at this in details. 老师, what's your honorable surname? 老师 answered, not my, 我贵姓李. He just said, I am surnamed Li. 我姓李. Surname is a verb. If you try to put it into the grammatical context as the Western language, it is a verb. But as I told you from the very beginning, both pinyin system and the grammar system were borrowed after the May 4th movement in 1919, right? They are not 100% correct used to direct the Chinese language. Then you will have a question, 老师, then how can I know that I'm learning a correct Chinese language? Well, those expressions from the textbook are correct, and talk to Chinese people and read the Chinese book or watch Chinese movie, you will learn authentic Chinese expression. Because what is a grammar? Grammar is about the regularities and irregularities, right? But in most of the time, it describes the regularities of a scenario in a language. If we say English grammar describes 80% of regularities, which makes English the easiest language to learn, then Chinese grammar may not even describing 50% of regularities. Okay, and the rest of that relies on yourself to discover by reading and watching. However, it's still too far for you to consider about that. At the moment, you just need to remember what's from the textbook. Then that's you are covered. Again, I really hope that you're not taking this subject as something you're going to get marks. I really think you could consider as a window that will open the new world to you and new career to you. Right? The market price for the Chinese English interpreter in South Africa is 2,000 Rand per hour at the moment. And you know, there's other benefit. Let's look at this. 李老师您好. This is very understandable, but there's one thing that's important here. That is, when you address someone, right, you put their title after the surname, which is different. This is not Teacher Li, and will always not be Teacher Li or Dr. Li. 李老师, for example, Li, Dr. Li will be 李博士. Mr. Li will be 李先生. The surname always come in front, right? That's good. We have the translation department at Stellenbosch University as well, who work together with the Chinese department to train our honors students in translation and interpreting. However, if you want a more professional one, WITS has a translation department which offers Chinese and English interpreter. Why so? Okay, why the surname always comes first? Language is ideology. Chinese people, for example, in their name, they put the surname first. In their title, they put the name first, right? Why? Because in the traditional view of Chinese, which family the person you're dealing to comes from is important, determine how you are going to interact with them. And your surname, not now, I'm talking about the, you know, our ancestors, your surname will immediately tell other people which family you belong to. Right? That's why the surname always comes first. Then Li Yimin replied. Li Yimin doesn't need to use that respectful form. He will just say, 你好, not 您好. 你叫什么名字? You see the way Li Yimin is trying to find out the name from Martin because he's a student. So he simply used the normal way, as we learned. What's your name? 我叫马丁. I am called Martin. One, 姓 is a verb in the context of the Western grammar. 叫 is a passive in the context of the Western grammar, but in reality they are not. However, you can try to understand in that way, so that's easy for you to understand. Now let's read this text number 2 in quasi-normal Chinese speed. Repeat after me. Make sure you do read them out loud. 老师，您贵姓？我姓李。李老师，您好。你好，你叫什么名字？我叫马丁。Okay. Any question about text 1 and text 2? No, no, good. They are pretty fairly easy, I think. We continue. Text number 3 is counting numbers again, but we've already learned those. But learning language at the beginning level is just a simply repetition. You just need to repeat. Let's try to not sipping tea, sipping coffee. I'm kind of not wake up entirely, so I understand you 100%. Let's try to read this from number 0 to 99. Okay. 0 is 0
0
1 2 3 4. Please remember how to write 0, not only 拼音。5 6 7 8 9 10 11 21 31. Let's do those. 22 33 44 55 66 77 88 99. Then we have 100. Okay. The 101 is just the 101, 110, but we will deal that with later. However, you should be able to count from 0 to 100 for now. All right? We continue. Supplementary vocabularies. Common Chinese surname. Let's read them together. Those surnames, they have no meaning now, as they used to. Okay, they used to give the information about which family you are coming from and roughly which part of China you are coming from. Okay, but they don't have an actual meaning now. Let's just read them together. Li, Wang, Zhang, Liu, Zhao, Ma, Chen, Sun, Huang, Gao. You don't need to learn how to write them at the moment, but to recognize them as a surname is important. Li, Wang, Zhang, Liu, Zhao, Ma, Chen, Sun, Huang, Gao. Okay. We're going to do some exercise. We'll leave the pinyin part out because we're going to practice that again tomorrow. For tomorrow, because we don't have a class on Friday, so tomorrow we're going to do the exercise of the listening, right? Just to get that lesson 3 listening book printed out because you need to write on it. Asking each other's surname and given name. This, I think you all can do this. You just need to remember. 你叫什么名字 What's your name? 你姓什么 What's your surname? So the answer is 我姓什么 and 我叫什么 right? 姓 surname, 叫 to be called. The answer is 我姓 and 我叫. And they are the same structure question with a question pronoun of 什么. And you don't need to give yourself a Chinese name, but unless you want. But I still believe that the Chinese people should learn how to pronounce your name, not the other way around. Okay, we're going to do the practice number 3 together. Speak out the surname and given name. Let's take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's take 1 hour and 20 seconds. Just try to fill those in, okay? Using those names and break them down and fold those into those blanks. Go ahead. In our oral exam test, our oral test, we don't have exam, okay? In our oral test, if I ask you, 你叫什么名字? You should be able to answer that. For example, if I ask you, 你叫什么名字? Can you answer me? You can just say your foreign name. That's no problem. You should say 我叫博, right? 你姓什么? With a surname, you should be able to answer 我姓吕. Then I will ask you, 你是哪国人? That's lesson 2. 我是法国人，我是南非人，我是纳米比亚人。Oh, yes. I saw from your profile that a few of you came from Namibia. How do we say Namibia in Chinese? 纳米比亚。And DRC, 刚果。Mozambique. Kenya. Kenya. Okay, we'll come back to those. 他姓 Let's take the first one for example. 他姓 Anyone? Switzerland. Okay. 瑞士, that's correct. Anyone? Just unmute yourself. The first one, 他姓什么叫什么? Anyone? 他姓什么叫什么? This person. It's not that difficult, right? For Chinese name, the first one is surname, the second one is given name. So 他姓, let's type it. You don't know how to pronounce this, or you don't know what I mean for this exercise. 他姓陈, we don't have a problem with that. Do we all understand why that's so? Okay, then, that's easy. Well, what is a little bit tricky is we normally, when we say 他叫什么, we normally don't only say the surname, only say the given name. That is particularly because the given name is too short and that sounds weird. 他姓陈叫龙, that sounds a little bit weird because the given name is too short. So in the 他叫什么 part, we will repeat the full name. 他姓陈叫成龙. This is convention. And who is Chen Long? Anyone knows? Do you know this guy? From Kung Fu movie or Hong Kong movie, right? That's Jackie Chan. Continue the second one. 他姓什么？叫什么？
姓姚，叫明。
Correct. Same thing as what we did. We tend to repeat the full name out because it's too short, only one character or two. 他姓姚，叫姚明。And who is Yao Ming? And this guy is Yao Ming. Well, if you are into basketball and NBA, you should know him. We continue. Number 3, 他姓什么？叫什么？
大姓李，叫丁宁。
Thank you. That's correct. 他姓李，叫李宁。You probably know him if you're into sports, but he's very old now. I doubt you saw this logo on the street. So this is basically Nike in China, right? Last one. 他姓什么？叫什么？ For a 3 characters name, the surname is always 1 character. For 4 character name, the surname could be the first one or first 2. That relies on your experience onto that. But in this case, that's pretty simple. For 3 character name, the surname is always the first one. 他姓什么？叫什么？
他姓张，叫张艺谋。
Correct. 他姓张，叫张艺谋. You probably don't know who he is, but I doubt all of you watched this movie. Ring a bell? No? Well, maybe you are too young. You know, this worked when first year or second year I was teaching my first or second year teaching Chinese. That was 10 years ago. You know, those students, they were basically my generation and they all watched this film. It's a good film. 大红灯笼高高挂。Okay, and this tells us all those people in the left column, they are Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's 5-7 years later. 卧虎藏龙 is also a good one. And this tells us all those 4 people, they are male, they are men, right? Thank you. And it changed. 他姓什么叫什么 Guys. Is it that difficult? And those are their surnames. 赵, Chen, Gong, Deng. Right? Their names are 小兰, Xiang Mei, Li, and Li Jun. So 他姓什么? 他姓赵, 他姓陈, 他姓龚, 他姓邓. And who is Gong Li? This is Gong Li. She is actress. Deng Lijun, I doubt you know her. That's my parents' generation's singer. When you say they're 叫什么, we tend to repeat the full name. Just remember that. I think you're just a little bit shy about those. It's pretty easy. Do we all understand how this works? Even though none of you answered. Okay. 2. Five, 6, 7. Okay. Okay. Then we can continue. Next exercise. I'll give you 1.5 minutes. Write down the pinyin for those characters. Go ahead. Try not go back to the vocabulary list and test your own memory. See how much pinyin you could write out. Then you will know which vocabulary you have to work on. Okay. If you can't write all the pinyin out, you have another day or 2, before the lesson 4 starts. You should be able to memorize all of them. You're struggling with all of them. You need to, with the character sheet. Yes, as I said, the character press sheet is not for oneself. Ideally, you should write one copy daily. But that's totally depends on yourself, and I'm not going to be there to watch you. There's a good way to test yourself. First, when we go back to any vocabulary list, for each single lessons, the vocabulary is the foundation. If you don't remember those vocabulary, you will lose your track sooner or later. Okay, you should put more energy onto those vocabularies than all the other things. There are 3 parts: vocabularies, right, which is the foundation. Second, the conventional language expression, right, those basically quasi-fixed form on how to say each thing. And the grammar. The grammar is less important. Right? How do you test your vocabulary 100%? You find the paper and hide those, right? Looking at the Chinese character, Chinese word alone. Do I know how they are pronounced? Do I know their word categories? How do I use them? In other words, do I know the meaning in my mother language? Okay, it does not necessarily need to be English. Your signified should be your native concept from your mother language, right? Second, first test, second, because this is a dual layer signification system, remember. Second, you hide the character and you hide the meaning. You look at the pinyin only. When you look at the pinyin only, do I know how to write this character? Tick. After you write this character, do I know what's the meaning and how do I use those characters? Right? After that, you should put 60% of energy on working on vocabulary alone. Third, hide the pinyin and Chinese character. Look at the meaning only. Okay, for this meaning, do I know their corresponding Chinese word? If I know, how do I know how to write them? Right? How to write them. After you write them, do I know how to pronounce them? Right? You need to test this in the 3-folded way because they are dual layer signification. After you did all of those and you're very much confident, and if you will be able to continue to do so at the end of the year, I guarantee you will get a more than 85% mark. But don't try to put too much stress on yourself, and you need to understand language learning is a piano thing, is a continuously thing. Rome isn't built in a day. It's try to work with few character words a day. For example, there's 1, 9, right? 9, 11, 14. You have 14 new words for lesson 3. And you have 7 days to study them. You just need to memorize 2 for a day, right? If you only do this a night before your assignment, yes, you can remember that, but you will forget that very soon, right? Just do 2 a day, but don't stop continuously doing that day after day. It will take you not more than 5 minutes to do that. Okay, I'll leave it for yourself to check those pins are correct or not. And now let's look at this dialogue together. Complete the following dialogue. It's very simple. 你好, this is what? The greetings, say hellos. So you need to say that back, right? 你好, 你好. 请问, it tells us we need to use 贵姓. right? And we look at the answer. I am surnamed Wang, so we need to use the 贵姓 form, not 你叫什么 form. Okay. Then we learn the expression is 您贵姓. Easy. 我姓王. Second, when is the exam? We have 4 exams in a year. At the end of each term, you have a term test. At the end of each semester, you have a semester test. So we have 2 term tests, 2 semester tests in total. For the first term test, this is obviously when we finish the first term. That's 7 weeks. There's a time on my schedule, but I can't remember. And we still don't know. It will be a sitting 1 in the complex. 10th of May. Yes, it was planned as a sitting 1 in the complex, but it's debatable. We don't know we were able to do that or not, but I will notify you when the times come. Your exam, your tests, not exams. So please stop using the term of exam. It's not exam, it's a test. Your test has 2 parts, 1 oral, 1 written. Okay? And the time were given by the university that we can't change. We'll discuss that when the times come close. Let's try to finish this dialogue first. 你, it is a question. The question pronoun are provided. 什么? The answer is 我叫阿明. So the question definitely will be, what are you called? 你叫什么? Right? 你叫什么? Or 你叫什么名字? If you decided to say that in the full expression, the answer is 我叫阿明, and it tells us it is another question to use this particle n. We learned only 1 form that's formed with particle n, which is and you, 你呢? 我叫马丁, the answer is 认识你很高兴. We basically just need to copy this. It's nice. It's very nice for me to meet you too. We need to put 也 into this. 认识你我也很高兴. Okay. So basically those 2 tests are testing your memory and understanding of the fixed expression from lesson 3. I believe you should be able to do, you all are able to do this now, but my question is, will you be still able to do this after 3 weeks or after 4 weeks? Right? So continuously refresh your memory. That's the key. Now let's read those 2 dialogue, then we call it today. Repeat after me. Make sure you read them out loud. 你好，你好，请问您贵姓？我姓王。你叫什么名字？我叫阿明。你呢？我叫马丁。认识你很高兴。认识你，我也很高兴。Let's do a quicker, faster way. Ready? Go. 你好，你好，请问您贵姓？我姓王。你叫什么名字？我叫阿明。你呢？我叫马丁。认识你很高兴。认识你，我也很高兴。Right, that's for today. I hope I completely wake you up and you are ready for other lectures. Have a good day, study. 再见，谢谢。
谢谢。
谢谢，拜拜。
谢谢，拜。
见。
再见。
拜拜。
谢谢老师。
再见 Mr. Bushwick. 再见 Miss Lindeck. Sorry about my pronunciation. Bye bye. 再见 Miss No. 再见 Miss Miller. 谢谢。再见 Mr. Dovier. Bye bye. 再见。